Fight fans? It's the TST Alliance here, back again with another banger. And today we have a very special guest because who I have is fighting this Friday, September 19th in Orlando, Florida. He is an undefeated super featherweight prospect. Please welcome the unstoppable Mr. Roberto Gomez. Roberto, how you doing today, sir?
Doing good, doing good.
Hey man, we're at fight week now. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I'm only like 2, 3 pounds away from weight, so I mean, I'm chilling. I just came back from working out this morning, so I'm pretty much on weight. I'm ready. I mean, time is now. So
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just get straight into it. You're fighting Sharon Carter this Friday. Talk to me about this matchup.
I mean, they came to us with him, and they were like, "Do you want to fight him?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I don't put anything past any fighter, and he's even though he has his losses, he's a great fighter. He's a good fighter. So I'm coming like with the intentions, like I'm coming in knowing that he's ready for whatever. So I gotta be on I gotta be on my A game when I'm fighting him. And regardless of who I fight, though, I have to be on my A game. But he took the fight for a reason, and he felt that he could beat me, so that's why he took the fight. And much respect to him. My hats off to him because I have respect for every fighter that I fought. Because they're giving me the opportunity to fight, obviously, but they're coming in thinking they could beat me, so that's what makes it even better because they thinking that they could beat me, and I'm confident in myself and my skills and what I have. So
Yeah, for sure. And it just seems like, especially in this past year, just the level of competition has gone up. Record might not show it, but experience does. You're fighting these gamed fighters who have a lot of experience. Specifically about this matchup, what intrigues you about this fight and this opponent?
nothing really intrigued me. It was just the fact that he's fought some top guys. Um, I can't like off the bat think, but I think his last fight he fought somebody that was 12-2 or something like that. Um, And I see that guy, and he's, pretty good. And, you know, it's just, I just trying to just work my way up and, get more and more harder fights and, exciting fights. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure. And this fight is at the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida, a venue that you're
Correct.
very, very familiar with. When
Yeah.
you're fighting at such familiar venues, do you feel like it eases your nerves, especially because you kind of know, like, where you're going to be in the backstage, where you're going to be in the entrance, and just kind of being in a familiar territory?
No, it really doesn't. Because in the amateurs, in the amateurs, it shapes you because, like, you're not always fighting at the same place. Like, there's times we fight in Dallas, we fought in Charleston, West Virginia, Washington, D.C. You fight all these different places. So it's different atmosphere, different places. So you have to adjust and get used to it. And that's just how I am, regardless of if I'm fighting in Orlando or wherever the case may be, I have to adapt to where I'm at. It's the same thing with in the ring. You have to adapt to a certain fighter when you're in the ring with that guy. You have to adapt to whatever style, whatever comes your way. You have to adapt. So that's my biggest thing. It really doesn't matter to me.
And talking about adapting, 7 fights into your pro career, you had a pretty, extensive amateur career. What was the biggest adjustment, turning amateur to pro?
Just get the nerves more than anything because there's a lot that runs through your mind knowing that smaller gloves, obviously, not much of a difference, but less padding versus the amateur sting gloves versus the gloves that we use now. It's like less padding, no headgear, um you know and there's a lot that goes into it because, like, once you hit 18, age is out of the window. Because, once you hit 18, you're basically a man. So, it's either you put up or you get out the game. And, that's what I had to do. And, it's your emotions. You have to learn to control your emotions. So that's like the biggest transition was like the no headgear and the 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 no headgear and the gloves. But other than that, I mean, I was already I pretty much was like prepped for it.
For sure, and, you last fought in July, winning in a shutout unanimous decision against Wilner Soto. Now that the time has passed and a couple months afterwards, what's the biggest takeaways you had from that fight?
Um, Biggest takeaways was, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I did good, but there's a lot of stuff that I like. When I look back at the fight, that I should have did more. I should have pressed the pace more and things like that. Like I have a beautiful jab. There's a lot of stuff that I do great, and I would be the first to say that I was nervous. This is my first time fighting on like live TV, like broadcasted everywhere. So like I'm nervous. The nerves are like just everywhere. So like there's a lot of things that I didn't do, like jabs and things like that, and moving out of the way. And I shouldn't have got hit with punches that I was getting hit with. But I mean, it's all a learning experience. I did what I had to do to get the win. I was dominant in all areas of the fight. I was dominant, but I feel like there's certain things that I should have did more, and it'll show this Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned nerves a few times in this interview. How important is it to kind of acknowledge the nerves and kind of like embrace it, not shy away from it when it comes fight day and stepping into the ring.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be nervous. If you're not nervous, then you're just different. But I mean, everybody's nervous. I don't care who you are. Everybody's nervous. We just gotta learn. You gotta learn how to control it, and that's the biggest thing is learning how to control your emotions and how you feel and things like that. Because if you don't control it or you can't control it, then it's gonna be like you're gonna be everywhere and like anything could happen that you're not expecting, and it just you get caught with a good punch or whatever the case may be, and your nerves get the best of you.
This is the third fight of 2025 for you. How important is it to stay active so early in your pro career?
I mean, this it's pretty important to stay active. I mean, my promoters, Eric and Omari, I feel like they're doing a great job with how they're moving me and seeing me grow as a fighter, because my first pro fight I wasn't signed to anyone, and I fought under Anthony with Undisputed. There was no strings attached or anything like that, and it was just for me to get my foot in the door to turn professional. And I had a spectacular knockout, 19 seconds, first round. And um, after that, that's when Omari and them picked me up, and my second fight was at the Caribe Royale, and it was a great experience. They showed me so much love, and like they brought me in with open arms and was like, we want you to be on a part of the BoxLab team. So we signed the contract. We sat down, signed the contract, and the rest was history. It's just it's great being with them. But I do feel like I want to fight at least. Well, this is going to be the third time this year, but at least one more time this year, like November, December, and then next year, hopefully, at least 5, 6 times next year, like a little more.
For sure. And, talking about BoxLab, that's your promoters right now. And, they've kind of grown, they've built you up really well, on the posters of this weekend's fights and stuff like that. What have you learned, business wise from, being promoted by such a high level promotion?
Uh, the main thing that I learned with the whole business aspect is because, like, just the business aspect, period. Because I'm a painter, I paint on the side, like it's not just boxing. And someday it's gonna get to that point. But like my coach owns his own business. So like I'm around like, business 24/7, whether it's painting or boxing. So like I know. And like they're moving, I feel like the business aspect, they're moving me the right way, certain fights and money and things like that, and what's gonna attract people, and it's a lot that goes into it, and who specifically is on the card. So that's the biggest thing. Like, we got Luis Ortiz, King Kong, he's fighting on the card. And then we got Caiko Gallegos is another, yeah, he's something serious. Cause I seen him fight in the amateurs when we were in the amateurs together. He was a beast. And Tavius, AD, he's fighting, been in the amateurs with him. Joshua LeBron, Josiah, Kid, Shirley. I mean, all these guys that are on the card are like, great prospects. Like it's, well, not King Kong because he's been in the game, but like everybody else, all the younger people are, it's just great talent.
Yeah. I get what you mean. I get what you mean about all the great prospects. And, I know you don't want to big yourself up, but you're also on that card and you are a great talent. And, you represent Dade City, kind of in the Tampa area. How important is it to, represent your city when you step in the ring?
Me personally, like my biggest thing is to represent where I'm from. Yeah, well, my city, obviously, but like when I fight, I'm not fighting for just my city. I'm fighting for like all of Florida, like because I feel like people just like overlook fighters from Florida. Like we got some serious heat in Florida. Like just to name a few guys is like me, Angel Hernandez, like the Valle brothers, Dominic Marcus and Kenyon, Antonio Vargas, the what is WBA bantamweight
Champion.
champion. Yeah,
Hmm.
I sparred him plenty of times. Like there's like great guys, Frankie Rodriguez. Like the list goes on and on and on and on with all these great fighters that are in Florida, and it's just Xander Zayas. He's, you know 154 WBO world champion now. So it's like to see these guys, and I've been in the ring with Xander, and like to see um how Florida's putting on for the sport of boxing. Everybody's like, oh, Ohio runs boxing and this and that. It's just like that's, respect the high Ohio, but it's just like I really gotta pay attention to like Florida, the Florida boys. Like, we're really putting down, and you know,
I I really, I'm glad you said that because, every time we talk, like I talk to people about boxing, they always mention like up north, they say New York, Philly. They always say Philly. They say the DMV area always. And I always try to tell people, I'm like, we got like several world champions out of the Sunshine State. Like even like Jasmine Artiga, the only world
yeah,
champion out of
and
Tampa.
the only female at that. Like, come on now, like they're like that's see what I'm saying? Like the list goes on and on. Like, there's so many fighters in Florida. If I like didn't mention them or whatever, if they see this, I'm sorry, but like there's like so many, like it's so much talent with boxing in Florida, and it just gets overlooked. Hammer was, and he still is one of the top guys. He's from Florida, like he's from Orlando. So
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, I just feel like sometimes we get overlooked, but at the end of the day, it's coming back. Like we're putting it back out there.
For sure. And this is the last question I'll have on this topic, man. With you taking pride in representing your state and just hearing you, do you feel like sometimes when you step in the ring, you're trying to prove like kind of some of them critics wrong, not just with maybe you as a boxer, but just the state in general?
Oh, of course, 100%. Because like, uh, I put Florida on my back 100%. Whatever fight, whatever the case may be. But I also, it's like everybody is so pushed on like Puerto Rico, Mexico, or like where they're from. I'm Puerto Rican and black, like I'm mixed. So like, obviously I take pride in Puerto Rico. Obviously I take pride in the United States of America, but at the same time it's like, when I'm fighting for like, like I'm fighting for Florida, I'm fighting for Dade City, Zephyr Hills, Lacucci, Tent. Like I'm fighting for like us, not only just us, but I'm not fighting for myself as well. But like, it's just a lot of people just push that issue, and now I'm not saying it's a bad thing because you're representing your heritage, but at the end of the day, like you got to support like where you're from because these people are supporting you from Florida, from this area. So that's my biggest thing.
Yeah, it's definitely like the 3-5-2 mentality, bro. You fight at super featherweight. It's a division that's always has been consistently open in boxing. Look at it now. There's 3 world champions, I think 1 vacant title. When you look at this division, do you see yourself kind of being at the high level in about a year or 2?
Yeah, so I think it was yesterday. I had an interview yesterday, the day before, with the everybody's like on box. I said this to him before that BoxRec needs to change that. That it says I'm super featherweight. That's 130. I fight at featherweight. I mean, I had a few fights at 130 because they couldn't find nobody at 126, so I had to be like at 130 or 131. But I'm a natural 126, so I'm like a natural featherweight.
That's even better because, speaking of 126, that's a division that's also very, very open. Obviously, Espinoza champion, Angela Leo champion, Nick Ball champion, Stephen Fulton's WBC, but he's moving up to fight Oshaki Foster. That's a division where it
Yeah.
seems like I've said it personally. It's arguably one of the toughest divisions in men's boxing today. When you look at, kind of the top 10 and kind of the top 20 of those rankings, does it excite you to see how many potential matchups there could be?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the Espinoza guy, when he fought Robisi the first time, I honestly felt like Robisi beat him. Or was it a draw or did Espinoza beat him?
Espinoza won.
Yeah, I honestly thought Robisi beat him. And I sparred Robisi. I think I was like 16, 15, 16 years old, maybe 17 when I sparred him. Um, that's when he was with Coach Rob from St. Pete. And, it was great work. And then just like being there with him, being in there with those guys, and then like seeing who he's fought is just like, dang, like, you know, I don't know how he lost to Espinoza. And then I just like telling myself, like, that's what I want. Like, I want to fight him, like, get me the guys to break them down so I can get to him. Cause, I feel like, you know, and every fighter should feel like they're the best and that they could beat somebody. And that's just how I feel. Like I feel like I could beat them. I feel like I am one of the best 126 pounders out there. It's just, like Crawford said, just give me an opportunity and I'm gonna show you. So that's just where I'm at with everything. Like, just give me opportunity and I can show you what I'm about and what I could do.
Absolutely. And speaking of Terrence Crawford, obviously he just made history over the
Yeah.
weekend, beating Canelo Alvarez to become a undisputed champion in 3 divisions. What's your thoughts on that matchup?
I feel like it was good. And, like they say, the whole like with interviews with Canelo was saying you fought nobody. And it's just like, yeah. And my coach has told me this since day one. Everybody's a nobody until you fight that somebody. Simple as that. Everybody's a nobody until you fight that somebody. But you don't go around thinking you're that somebody, like Crawford's a down to earth guy. Like he doesn't have to walk around with security and nothing like that, because he's a people's champ. He's himself. And that's just I don't know, it's a great feeling to feel like that, like you just don't want to make it seem like, oh, I'm better than you, can't be like that. You have to be a people's champion, love and respect everybody, regardless of your accomplishments.
Absolutely. And Roberto, my last question to you, man, is, what can fans expect this Friday, September 19th, when you step in the ring against Sharon Carter?
Nah, yeah, it's going. You get they're gonna see a spectacular performance. More they're gonna see more elite, fighting from me this fight around because Sharon is uh he's a durable and he is really tough. He's a really tough fighter. He's coming to fight. And, I give my respect to every fighter that I fought. So, just be ready for a spectacular night of boxing, elite fighting from both corners, both sides of the ring. And, just if the knockout comes, it comes. I don't look for it. But, if it comes, just be ready. Just
Hey,
be
if
in
the
them seats
knockout
and be ready.
hey, if the knockout comes,
It comes.
I'm just joking. Roberto, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck on September 19th.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.